There are moments in life when your heart feels something so deep, so intense, that words can't explain it. You meet someone, or maybe you experience a connection that feels beyond logic. You feel it in your bones, in your heartbeat, in your silence. You can't describe it, but you know it's real. And when it fades, when they walk away, when everyone tells you that it was just in your head, you start to question yourself. You start to wonder, was I just crazy? Did I make it all up? But let me tell you something. You are not crazy. What you felt was real. The way your heart lit up when they entered the room, the peace you felt when they spoke, the comfort in their energy, none of that was imagination. That was your soul recognizing something it once knew. In this world, people forget how powerful real connection is. They forget that souls remember each other. They forget that love doesn't always come from logic. It comes from something higher. And when your spirit feels that, it changes you. You start to see life differently. You're not crazy because you still think about them. You're not crazy because their memory still lives in your chest. You're not weak for remembering what it felt like to be seen, even if it was for a short while. You just loved with honesty in a world that's afraid of feeling deeply. Maybe they couldn't handle that kind of depth. Maybe they felt it too, but didn't know how to live with it. Maybe their fear spoke louder than their heart, but that doesn't make your experience any less true. That doesn't mean you imagined it. What you felt was energy, something invisible yet undeniable. You felt their soul, not just their presence. You noticed the small things that most people overlook. The pause before they spoke, the softness in their eyes, the way they looked at you when they thought you weren't watching. Those things weren't coincidences. Those were silent conversations between two souls who met for a divine reason. You might never understand why it ended or why it didn't become what you hoped it would be. But every connection carries purpose. Some people come to stay, others come to teach, and a few come to awaken something you forgot inside you. This person, this experience, it awakened you. It reminded you what it feels like to love without limits, to trust your intuition, to believe in something greater than yourself. That's not madness. That's transformation. There are people who walk through life numb. They meet others, talk, laugh, and leave, but they never truly feel. Then there are people like you, who feel everything, who love with depth, who sense energy in silence. The world often calls people like you too emotional or too sensitive, but the truth is, you are alive. You are connected to something beyond this physical world. You're not crazy because you still sense them sometimes, because their name still appears when you least expect it, because you dream of them. Energy doesn't disappear, it changes form. When two souls meet, they leave fingerprints on each other that time cannot erase. That's why you still feel it. That's why you still know. God allows certain souls to cross paths for reasons that go beyond human understanding. Sometimes he sends someone to remind you that your heart is still open. Sometimes he sends them to break your walls. And sometimes he sends them to test how much love you can give, even when there's no guarantee it will stay. You see, love isn't always about happy endings. Real love is about awakening. You don't meet people by accident. You meet them because they are part of your growth. That connection, the one you keep thinking about, it changed something inside you permanently. You started to feel more deeply. You started to see more clearly. You began to believe in things unseen, signs, energies, timing, destiny. That's what real love does. It shakes you. It confuses you. It rebuilds you. It teaches you to listen to your soul again. Maybe they couldn't stay because they weren't ready for that kind of depth. Maybe they still needed to learn what you already knew. But that doesn't mean what you had was fake. It means it was sacred. It means it served its purpose. And maybe one day, when you've both healed, you'll cross paths again. Not to repeat the past, but to recognize the growth that love created in both of you. Or maybe you'll meet someone else who feels just as deeply, but is ready this time. Someone whose soul matches the rhythm of yours without fear. Until then, you need to remind yourself that your heart isn't broken. It's awake. You didn't lose them. You gained clarity. You didn't imagine love. You experienced truth. There's a kind of peace that comes when you stop fighting the truth of what was. When you stop telling yourself it was just your imagination. When you accept that even though it ended, it still mattered. Because yes, it was real. The connection, the energy, the feeling, the bond, all of it. It was part of your divine journey. You don't heal by denying your truth. You heal by honoring it. You heal by saying, yes, I felt that. Yes, it changed me. Yes, it was real. And now I'm ready to carry that love forward into something even more beautiful. The pain you feel now is proof that your heart was genuine. And that's something to be proud of. Because the world needs more people who love the way you do. Fearlessly, spiritually, deeply. There's something sacred about remembering someone and wishing them peace, even if they're no longer beside you. That's growth. That's maturity. That's real love. And maybe, just maybe, that's why God allowed it to happen. Because through that person, you learned how to see yourself differently. You learned that your emotions are not a weakness. They are your strength. You learned that your sensitivity is not something to be ashamed of. It's your gift. So stop doubting yourself. Stop replaying every moment trying to find reasons why it didn't work. Stop letting others tell you what was real and what wasn't. Only your heart knows. Only your soul remembers. They might move on quickly. They might pretend it never meant anything. But deep down, they know. The energy between you wasn't one-sided. They just couldn't handle the mirror you were to their soul. You reflected back to them what they were afraid to see. Their truth, their emotions, their fears, their love. And not everyone is ready for that kind of reflection. So don't call yourself crazy for feeling so deeply. You were chosen for this kind of love. because your heart is strong enough to handle it. Because you're meant to show others that vulnerability is not weakness, it's courage. And one day, you'll look back and realize that this chapter, the one that hurt so much, was the one that led you to yourself. It made you softer, wiser, stronger, and more spiritually awake. You'll understand that real connections don't end. They just evolve. The love you gave doesn't vanish. It becomes part of who you are. It shapes the way you love the next time, with more awareness, more faith, more grace. So breathe. Let the past be a sacred teacher, not a punishment. Let the memories bring peace, not confusion. You're not crazy for remembering something beautiful. You're not crazy for believing in what your heart felt. You're not crazy for still feeling their presence sometimes. You are simply a soul who recognized another soul. And that's one of the most divine experiences you can have in this lifetime. So the next time someone tells you that you're imagining it, smile softly, because you know the truth. The connection was real. The love was real. And the lessons it gave you were priceless. And when you finally meet the person who's meant to stay, you'll understand why it had to happen this way. You'll realize that what once broke you was actually preparing you. Because real love doesn't just find you once, it finds you again when you're ready to receive it fully. You're not crazy, you're chosen. You felt something pure, something few people ever do. And that's what makes your story sacred. So trust the journey. Trust the timing. Trust the feelings that still whisper to your heart at night. They're not lies. They're reminders of the love that woke you up. And one day, you'll thank God, not just for what happened, but for what it taught you to become.